Hi guys, welcome to our POB lecture series. Now these are the topics that we'll be looking at in this video. Let's get started. Okay guys, in this video underneath the topic, the nature of business, we'll be looking at number 1, commodity, number 2, trade, number 3, other instruments of trade, and number 4, the development of instruments of exchange. Okay, let's get right into it. So we're going to look at first commodity. What is commodity? Now, a commodity is a basic good used in commerce that is interchangeable with other goods of the same type. Okay, can be looked at as that. Now, there are also commodity markets which specific articles or items are traded. In a commodity market, the major decision about the trading arrangement is made solely on the basis of the price of the commodity and not on the differences in the quality or specific features of it. Now, commodities traded include precious metals, some agricultural product or produce, fuel, and minerals, etc. Okay, so next we'll be looking at commodity markets. What is this? Now, a commodity market is a market that trades in the primary economic sector rather than manufactured products, such as cocoa, fruits, and sugar, for example, because we're in the Caribbean. Okay? Now, these are very old markets. Members trade individually or act on behalf of others in the buying and selling of set amounts of commodity on a contractual basis. Now, for example, a farmer may sign a futures contract, which we'll be looking at shortly, with a food processing firm to sell a portion of his or her own crops. For example, mangoes, at the current price when the products comes to maturity in a few months. Now, you may ask, what is a futures contract? Okay, so we are going to that next. So, futures contract. Now, a futures contract is a contract between two parties, okay, where both parties agree to buy and sell a particular asset of specific quantity at a predetermined price at a specified date in the future. Okay? So moving on. Next, we're going to be looking at demand and supply. Now, demand and supply. First, we're going to look at what is demand. Now, demand is the willingness of consumers to purchase goods and services at a particular price. Supply, on the other hand, is the willingness of suppliers to produce goods at a particular price. Okay? Next, we're going to be looking at trade. What is trade? Now, trade is a basic economic concept involving the buying and selling of goods and services as well. Now, with compensation paid by a buyer to a seller or the exchange of goods or services between parties, that it can be looked at, for example, as that. Now, the term trade, otherwise, it can be taken to mean the situation in which goods and services are bought and sold commercially on the local or international market. Now, some businesses are referred to as trading companies, and this is because they are engaged in buying and selling merchandise. In earlier times, human beings used to use a barter system, which we'll speak about as well going further. Now, in the exchange of goods and services. So that is what the barter system is, exchange of goods and services, right? We can trace the development of economic activity from its starts in the bartering. Okay, so next we'll be looking at the barter system. What is this? As I said before, the barter system is a system of exchange in which participants in a transaction directly exchange goods or services for other goods or services without using a medium of exchange, which we'll look at also later. Okay, so what we're going to look at now, money. Now, what is money? Or what can money be looked at as? Now, money is any commodity that can be used as a medium of exchange, a unit of account, a store of value, and a standard for deferred payment. Now, money helped to reduce considerably some of the problems encountered in the barter system. Some of the problems were indivisibility, storage, unavailability of some required items that nobody produced. Okay? Now, we might look at money as something else. We're looking at it as maybe we're looking at the physical aspect of money, but really it's a medium of exchange. Okay, guys? Now, next we're going to look at credit. What is credit? Now, credit is the ability of a person or a firm to borrow money or obtain funding. Or you can look at it as the ability of customers to obtain goods or services before payment based on the trust that payment will be made in future. Okay? Now, next, we're going to be looking at other instruments of trade. The other instruments of trade, that would be bill of exchange. That's the first one that we'll be looking at. Now, what is a bill of exchange? Now, the bill of exchange has been used or has been in use since the 12th century AD. That's a long time ago. Now, it is among the oldest instruments used in trading. It is also referred to as the draft or the bill. So if it is that you're seeing draft or bill, it would still mean the bill of exchange. Okay? You can make a note of that. A bill of exchange is then described as an unconditional order in writing issued by a person or a business organization, instructing that person in whose name it is drawn to pay a fixed amount of money to the drawer or to a third party at a future date. Now, the future date may be fixed or may be negotiable. Okay? So, moving on. Next, we'll be looking at credit card. Credit card is something that we use every day. Okay? Once you have a very good job, you can get a credit card. Okay. So, what is a credit card? Now, a credit card is a financial instrument of payment, and this is used to, and it is issued by commercial banks, other financial institutions, or firms to customers who meet certain requirements. As I said before, you might need to have a very good job where you can maintain a credit card. Okay? Now, the credit card gives the holder access to goods and services on credit. It is a substitute for money, and it is widely accepted by organizations in the exchange process. Now, in fact, the holders of the international credit cards can access goods and services worldwide. Now, the credit card is made of plastic and carries a magnetic strip and a session number. It is easy and safe to carry around, and in the event that it is lost, the holder should make a report immediately to the company, preferably the financial institution which issued the card. Now, another name for the credit card is the charge card. We don't normally call it that, we just call it credit card. Now, what this means is that the holder of the card is purchasing goods or services on credit or charging something to his or her account. Okay? So that's enough for the credit card. Moving right along, electronic money, or you can call it funds transfer. So it can be called electronic money transfer or electronic funds transfer. So if it is that you are seeing EMT or EFT, it would mean the same thing. Either electronic money transfer or electronic funds transfer, same thing. Okay? Now, what is this? Electronic money transfer is a part of electronic banking. Now, EMT involves the movement of funds from one account to another electronically. In carrying out this type of transaction, you can use an electronic terminal or a computer, a telephone or magnetic tape. Working with a computer, you can access one's account online. Now, find out the balance. You can also find out the balance in the account and actually pay bills. If you have more than one account, funds can be transferred from one account to the other to meet payments. Now, this is only possible if you have been granted an access with an account number and a PIN, of course. That would be your personal identification number. Okay? So that is it for electronic transfer, or electronic money transfer rather. Moving right along, we're going to next look at telebanking. What is telebanking? Now, telebanking, this is a system of banking which allows a customer to carry out a banking transaction via telecommunications network. A customer can telephone from home or from the office and instruct the bank to pay certain bills or to transfer funds from one account to another. The customer can also check on account balance or balances. Okay, so that's for telebanking. Next, we'll be looking at e-commerce. Okay, what is e-commerce? Now, e-commerce is the buying and selling of goods or services via internet and the transfer of money and data to complete the sales. Now, the internet has had a tremendous impact on the way firms conduct business. Now, the internet has been used to conduct electronic business, which is all the activities involved in a successful web-based or internet business. Now, this means using the web to carry out a business model in which all aspects of one's business is conducted via the internet. Now, we do have stores such as online stores such as Amazon.com or even eBay. These offer not only books. For Amazon, they do not only offer books. They also gained popularity by persons purchasing clothes, shoes, and other merchandise. Now, electronic commerce, or e-commerce if you prefer to call it that, on the other hand, is just a part of e-business. Now, it is really the sales side of the electronic business. Now, therefore, the whole process of obtaining goods and services, such as obtaining information on a product, ordering, invoicing, and paying, is done online. So everything is done online. Okay? So that is it for the e-commerce. Next, we'll be looking at comparative advantage and specialization. So even though it is grouped as comparative advantage and specialization, I'm going to separate them. Now, for the comparative, what is this? First, you might ask. So comparative advantage. It refers to the ability of a country to produce a particular good at a lower marginal cost and opportunity cost than other countries. Specialization refers to the division of labor, which means that specific tasks and or assignments are broken down into smaller ones and assigned to different workers. Okay? Now, there are many benefits from trade. Chief among these are the gains from comparative advantage and specialization. Now, there is efficient production of the specific good, and that is because country is best positioned to do so. Some countries are best positioned to do so. Now, a worker is not assigned too large a task, which may result in inefficiency in the work process, or one that he or she is not proficient at. Now, specialization leads to greater levels of efficiency in the product or service being offered. It also results in increased output and thus more goods and services for the market. Now, governments enter into bilateral trade or multilateral trade agreements. Now, bilateral trades means trade between two countries, while multilateral trade means trade among a number of countries. Now, some Caribbean islands have entered into bilateral trades or trade arrangements for the supply of oil, such as Trinidad and Tobago, which produces oil, and this provides opportunity for trade between other Caribbean territories. all of this is possible because of the operations of businesses. Okay, so moving right along to, next we'll be looking at the development of instrument of exchange. So we're going to show a chart first so you can view it from there. Now, with the development of instrument of exchange, the development of economic activity. How did economic activities develop? Now, economic activities were born out of the desire of human beings to satisfy their immediate personal basic needs, such as food, shelter, and clothing. As a result of the economic activities which human beings practice in order to satisfy basic wants and needs. Now, they were referred to and continue to be referred to as economic animals. Now, the early method of satisfying basic needs, who later described by economists as direct production. Now, what is direct production, or what does it mean? Okay, let us look at what direct production is. Now, direct production is a term that is used to describe a situation where a company or a group of individuals or a person produces what he or she needs without having to rely on any other person or organization. They don't need all of that. Okay? Now, with direct production, this only means that human beings provide what they need for themselves and for their families on their own. Now, they do not depend on other persons to produce the goods and services that they desire. In this way in which early human beings satisfied their wants. This is how they satisfied their wants and needs. Now, to this end, they engage in the following activities: hunting and fishing, gathering herbs and wild fruit for food, collecting straw and leaves for clothing and shelter, using animal skins to make clothes, etc. And this is how they would operate in some time ago, very long time ago. Okay, now moving right along to subsistence economy. What is that? Now, this is an economy which produces only enough output for its own consumption. Now, early economies then could be described as subsistence economies because human beings focus on survival and not so much on improving their economic well-being. Okay? Now, because of the survival strategy adopted, as soon as berries, for example, were consumed or were out of season in one area, the people moved to another area to find more berries or other types of food. Okay? Now, that is it for subsistence economy. Moving on to productive activity. What is that? Now, early organization of productive activity. Now, productive activity began to take shape and form with the creation of tools. Human beings soon learned how to master their environment by introducing simple specialization, which requires the use of tools. Now, this increased people's ability to produce. However, one person was responsible for the creation of an entire product. For example, a whole pair of shoes. People also began to produce more than what was needed for a family. The extra amount produced was surplus. Okay? Now, the barter system was the answer to the problem of surplus. Okay, guys? So, that is it for commodity. Thanks for watching, guys. Please do remember to download our app in the Google Play Store. Okay? You can click on the link in the description below. Okay? Now, if it is that you would like past papers to assist you further, that's also in the app. Okay? Thanks for watching.